Ladies and gentlemen, big ferry news.
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome to another edition of Big Hearing News. Kia ora Chewie, sir. How are you?
I'm good, although from the looks of it, covered in dog hair. Jesus, it's that time of year.
It is, isn't it? You are the person who brought me onto hammocks for the backseat of the car because of dogs, and so now we do the hammock in the backseat of the car. But still, with my little hairy mutt, the window's open, wind blows in, and he goes all through the cabin anyway. But it helps somewhat, keeps the seats clean at least. Yeah, good man. How you doing? What's going on? Busy day?
Yeah, pretty busy day for me. I feel a wee bit lackluster in energy, but I'm sure that we're going to broach some topics that invigorate and infuriate me. So that's something to look forward to.
Today was kind of not the start of winter in Dunedin, but it was one of those days. I always describe to people who go, "Oh, it must be cold down there." It's like, oh, yeah, obviously it's cooler than the far north, but you have this thing in Dunedin where if it's 12, 13, 14 degrees in winter and it's a blue sky with sun, it feels warm because you get that solar gain behind windows, that sort of thing. But if it's 12, 13, 14 degrees and it's just grey sky, it feels cold. And today was a 14-degree day. It wasn't windy or anything or rainy. It was just cloud, so there was no solar gain. So you can feel it. We haven't got the fire going yet. We're not quite that far into it, but we keep saying maybe we should bring some firewood upstairs for just when it gets cold. Then we're good to go. But we haven't done it yet, so we're getting there. That's getting there. And I'm actually, speaking of being warm, I'm off to Auckland on Thursday for a wedding. So Emily is going to be in with Chewie on Thursday night. I'll be in Auckland Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, back Dunedin on Monday. And I've just realized, Chewie, how short that makes the week. Because if you fly out on Thursday morning, basically for Wednesday afternoon, you sort of have to have everything done. And that's tomorrow. So my week has just been eaten away, and I've been quite stressful about it. So what I was going to do, and this is part of my lead in to say, hey team, guess what? The merch shop is open. And I told you there was some new merch coming in April. There is some new merch coming in April. But to be honest, because I've got 3 days this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm not going to have time to do it this week. So, we've got those new stickers, the grassroots stickers and the tax work, less tax wealth, more stickers that goes with the new t-shirts and hoodies and stuff. We'll update this website sort of all next week and get the new merch up there. We've also got to fuck around and find out t-shirt, which we've tested last year, and also that grassroots one, that one there. We're going to put that into a t-shirt as well. We are the grassroots, and even more so now after what we told you yesterday about the patrons coming on board and enabling us to start up a new podcast with Craig Reading. We really are the grassroots. Yes, Chewie.
Since I wasn't going to bring this up, but then you said the magic words, fuck around and find out. We won't do the whole story, but for those of you that are in Dunedin, you might be familiar with a former nurse called Jennifer Scott, who is
the anti-vaxxer?
Anti-vax, very, very anti-trans, to the point where she's quite happy to vandalize woof and get in people's faces at restaurants and stuff like that. She's been trespassed from wins and all sorts of stuff. Well, she had her day in front of the Nurses Registration Board today, which she didn't turn up to, but sent in a letter full of sovereign citizen absolute nonsense about it being a living, breathing person made of meat and blood.
I am not a citizen. I am a breathing cellular.
I'm a traveling flag of the Admiralty.
I am not driving. I am not committing commerce with you. We do not have a contract, sir. I do not recognize your authority. Have I seen enough videos? Have I got some of it down there?
Yeah, you're on the right on the right track there. You'll be surprised to know that tax did not work.
Surprising.
Especially since she didn't turn up. She just put it in a letter. And the end result of that was she pissed off everybody for wasting their time. And they said, well, okay, no, you've lost all of your registration. You're no longer a nurse. You brought the entire industry into disrepute. And now you have to pay the costs $45,366.97. So this is definitely one of those moments. Like, I've had an interaction with her on the streets of Dunedin, sticking out the most horrible, hateful posters pointed at the trans community, and she is unpleasant to interact with. So I took a lot of joy in reading that story.
Wow. Speaking of I'm not a traveller, we've got the spokesperson for transport coming up next, Tangi Utikere. We can ask him about travelling versus driving. But before we do that, to wrap up and to follow on from our conversation last night, thank you so much to our patrons for being a part of what we do. Literally, this can't happen without you. Our future projection, things like the new show with Craig and us already starting to plan for Waitangi next year. We can't even think about those things without you guys, because you guys, the merch is great. The super chats are amazing. You people are amazing who participate in those two forms of helping us get some kind of capital. But it's the patrons who give us the confidence to go, well, next month we should at least be able to do this. And hopefully the month after that, we should at least be able to do this. So these are the real foundation and cornerstones of what we're doing. If you want to be a part of it, patreon.com/Big Hearing News. And just for you patrons, maybe I'll do it over the weekend. Maybe I'll take my laptop with me. I've got some ideas and some plans as to how we can boost up the interaction with patrons and give you guys some more some one-on-one time, some exclusive content of that kind of stuff as well. All right. So Chewie, you might not have heard, but this government has just finally solved the problem that is that pothole between the North Island and the South Island. Apparently everything's sorted and it's all going to be
filling it in.
Brilliant. It's all going to be brilliant.
Just going to pour asphalt in it and fill it in.
Asphalt. With us to talk about that is the spokesperson for transport for the Labour Party, Tangi Utikere. Welcome, sir.
Tēnā korua to you both. Good to be back.
Hey, man. How are you?
Sure, mate.
I'm good. I'm here at Parliament. So we've got another, just under an hour to go. So, yeah, it's a little bit quiet out there, but the debating chamber I'm still will be firing up not too far from here.
How was the debating chamber today? Because there's a couple of things in the media at the moment that kind of seems to be firing up a certain perspective of the political sphere. Was it a regular day? Did it feel a bit more angsty today? How was it in the House?
Yeah, it's always question time is quite fiery, but given it's the first day of the week, obviously, so for Parliament. So given what's been happening around here over the last few days, naturally, that sort of weighs on people's mind. But there are some that were just behaving as if nothing had happened or nothing's different. So yeah, it was interesting today.
With the we've heard from the Greens about security issues. Do you notice it at Parliament when that kind of thing happens to an MP or a party? Does Parliament just kind of go, well, let's just be a bit safer in the interim? Do you notice it at all?
So, as soon as you arrive here at Parliament on the precinct, the security team are just fantastic. So their job really is, even if there are issues that are cropping up, to just make it as if it's a normal day here for us out and about the place. So, yep. I received a petition on the steps of Parliament today from Free Fares, calling for the government and public transport space to, honour free fares for those that really need it, which is a lot of people in our community. And parliamentary security were there making sure that everything was all tickety-boo. So it didn't feel like a different day, but that's just because we had some hard-working folk who make it feel as normal as possible.
And can I say, we do not have enough in the political world answers that include the word tickety-boo. I think we need more of them. I think so. I just think it should be at least one time every show, Chewie, we need to hear the word tickety-boo. Is that a Kiwiism? That's a Kiwiism, mate. Only Kiwis would say that. Do anyone know?
I reckon. I'm
just saying, just thinking how appropriate, what an appropriate phrase for a transport spokesperson to use as well.
Can you give
try
us
my
any?
best, Chewie.
Can you give us any insights on traveling versus driving in a car? Seeing you are sort of the spokesperson for transport, those sovereign citizens. Can you clarify it for us?
Well, I did hear your comments, and I understand the award against that individual, as you've said, Chewie. Quite a bit of coin in there, I might say. But look, travelling, well, that gets you from A to B, doesn't it? A car is what do you call it? Kind of like a monomodal sort of approach, whereas lots of different options when you're travelling around the place.
I wonder if a sovereign citizen gets on a ferry. This is my segue, Chewie. It's seamless. You watch.
So smooth. It's so smooth.
Smooth. I wonder what they would say they were doing then. Hey, let's have a look at the story from last night. It's the reason we've got you here, Tangi, and have a look at I thought it was kind of a non-announcement because they didn't really give any details, but the announcement yesterday by the government via Winston Peters as to what's happening with our ferries.
These were to be our new Cook Strait ferries, due to start sailing here next year. But a blowout in portside costs saw this government torpedo them. Now a new promise, 2 new ferries by Christmas 2029.
They will get you, your family, the caravan, the dog, and all the rest across the strait, which is what New Zealanders want to happen.
The new ferries will be about 200 metres long, a bit bigger than the current Aratiri, a bit smaller than the proposed IREX ferries.
Both ferries will have capacity for 1,500 passengers. Trucks will drive onto these ferries. Rail will shunt onto these ferries.
The announcement's been broadly welcomed by the freight industry, and the Maritime Union reckons it's fabulous news.
Well, it just ticks all the boxes. It's a key piece of infrastructure between the north and the south. And they just could bring them on and then take them off at the other end. No double handling on either side.
Mr. Peters says the smaller ferries means money can be saved on infrastructure costs in Wellington and Picton.
While some may regret the absence of a Taj Mahal in Picton and a Sydney Opera House in Wellington, the people paying their taxes will not.
Now the government will ask shipbuilders to bid for the contract, and it's making grand promises.
We are saving the taxpayer billions.
I think it's very unlikely, almost impossible, that this will all end up being cheaper.
But the costs are being kept under wraps for now.
It's very difficult if you're negotiating port infrastructure and or ferries that you actually don't want to reveal what our envelopes are and what our framing is around the budget.
You ever been to the paid cards? Well, you show the other side of your card, you haven't got a chance of winning, have you?
All New Zealanders know at this point is that they're going to end up with a smaller version of what they were previously going to get, and it's going to take longer. And in the meantime, the current ferries will limp along.
Another leg in the long-winded ferry replacement project now underway.
There you go.
Benedict Collins.
So, lots of questions. One of the first questions I had was, we got told in the last 6 months that one of the current ferries was only going to last until the end of this year. And that was around infrastructure. They seem to be saying that's changed now, and both ferries will, quote unquote, limp along, I guess literally as well, until 2029. Can you shed any light on that, Tangi?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit unclear because, this time last year we were talking about, the current fleet, how long they could last. And all of the information indicated that actually they were coming to the end of their lifespan. Now, what is clear is that the government are relying on the existing fleet to limp out through to 2029. That comes at huge costs. I mean, these are ships. The maintenance costs are going to be huge. They're already sort of racking them up. What we all learned yesterday was actually not much. There are no ferries because they haven't. It started that clip. One News with beautiful view there of what was proposed. Well, we don't know what these new ferries are going to look like. We know how long they're going to be. We know that they're going to be rail enabled, which is good. But we don't know how much they're going to cost. We don't have any contracts in place. We don't know who's going to build them. We don't know, so there is so much uncertainty. And yesterday, I think, to be fair, everyone was expecting that Winston would come out and actually announce certain things, but he didn't. And so that's what's really disappointing.
So here's the big thing. I mean, they're talking about you keep your cards. Well, Winston Peters tried to use some kind of keep the cards close to your chest reference, but he completely fucked it up. But what they're saying is we have a budget and it's going to be cheaper. Oh, so you've already got a contract set in place? No. Oh, you've got a shipyard that's given you the timeline of end of 2029? No. So it feels disingenuous at best to me for them to be saying now we're going to save billions before they've even got a shipyard to give them a costing on the ferry that they've now announced. Now, they've announced it's rail enabled. They've announced it's about 200 meters long, which is going to cause new ports to be made or built anyway, which was 80% of the cost. And they're saying we're doing all of these things. We have a budget for it. Now we're going to go find it. I mean, if we're building anything and I wanted, gold plated toilets and like a building but I didn't have enough money for it, I'd be making promises that I couldn't then fulfill. I wonder how believable it is right now for us to accept we are going to save billions. They are going to be pretty much good as, and they are going to be here in 2029 when they don't have anything set up yet. Nothing.
And I think they're going to fail on all three counts there. The reason why they're wanting to hold this close to their chest is because they know that it's going to cost more. They absolutely know that it's going to cost more. There is no way that this is going to come out cheaper than what they're suggesting. I mean, the costs that are racking up right now, I think at last count, about $1.16 billion. That's just in the cancellation. 300 million of that is set aside for the cancellation clause, which let's not forget about that. That's still ongoing. They have a lawyer from the United Kingdom that travels to wherever they're having these conversations. This has been 15 odd months on, and still the contract's been cancelled, but it hasn't actually been actioned. So that's going to cost more. There's no guarantee that they will be delivered. To start with, he said 2029. Now he's saying Christmas. Well, he might as well say, Christmas is 1 week shy of 2030. I mean, so we just the certainty wasn't there yesterday.
So here's the conspiracy theorist in me. They'll keep on using this industry sensitivity. Can't announce the numbers yet. They'll get past the next election, and then they've solved their problem of this term, which is to get in the next term, and we won't have any decisions or any money or any confirmation of money before the next election. That's what I'm guessing, Chewie.
Yeah, I certainly feel like, is it self-sabotage? I don't know. It was a real mixed bag. Like you said, Tangi, I'm glad that there's a confirmation that they're going to be rail enabled.
Yeah,
that's a big plus. We acknowledge that was something that may not have been on the table. So it's great that it's there. But yeah, it's slightly shorter. It's slightly narrower. And Winston was banging on about 30 years worth of lifespan out of it. But if it's shorter, if it can't carry as much, then we're expecting less growth. We're locking in decisions. And then in articles today I've read frightening terms when it comes to the portside infrastructure of minimum tolerances and that sort of thing, that it's that traditional New Zealand infrastructure. We'll just half-ass it, rather than say, hey, look, it's portside infrastructure that's only going to get used more and more and more. Let's build it for that. Let's build some 50 to 100 year infrastructure. It just seems, again, short-term thinking for a short-term payoff.
Yeah, you're totally right. And the other thing when it comes to the portside infrastructure, which is absolutely necessary, we've got the Minister for Rail, Winston Peters, talking about, well, we're not going to have it like the Taj Mahal and we're not going to have it like the Sydney Opera House. I mean, what's important is that these are pieces of kit that are fit for purpose, that they actually meet the need that they're designed to, that they're safe to do so. The other thing that he hasn't actually covered off, and I asked him this in Parliament last week, I asked him again in Parliament today, is who is actually going to fund the portside infrastructure?
Yeah.
Because the government have not been clear around that. And I asked him today, will that fall on ratepayers? And he talks about, the conversations that he's having. But We don't know how much that is going to cost. We don't know who is going to foot the bill for that. And of course, this is, a government that is quite keen to lump costs onto councils and ratepayers and as much as possible. So again, more uncertainty into the equation.
It's the easiest way you can make it cheaper, right? Is just carve a chunk out of the IREX project and put it off to the side and go, look, we've saved billions. Of course, your local council is going to have to recoup that money, and they're going to recoup it by charging Kiwi Rail a fee every time a ferry comes in, which will get passed on to the customer. It's as Pat loves to say, just a shell game. Move everything around. Look, it's completely different. Yeah.
I was just looking as well, the Interislanders at the moment, because this is the idea that these will carry 1,500 passengers. The Kaitaki carries 1,400 passengers. So actually, when you're talking about population increase, the other ones are smaller, I believe, but the Kaitaki is about that size. And so the ships are bigger, but they carry about the same number of people. These ships are, 30 years old. The population growth in those 30 years aren't being acknowledged with the new size of, or at least the new capacity of these ships compared to the Kaitaki. So, what are we doing here? If these are already basically, one of their not fit for purpose is the size, the number of people they can carry, and they're just ordering more ferries that are within, 10% number of people that are on the current ferries. And certainly our population has gone up by more than 10% in those 30 years, maybe doubled in 30 years.
It's really interesting that, Winston Peters talks about, well, we're going to have smaller ships. And okay, you might just be slightly in that particular dynamic. But this is the minister who was involved in basically making the decision around the original ships that were part of Project IREX. I know he doesn't like that. He's been saying that today, that he doesn't like, the fact that people are saying that. But that is the reality. He was involved. He talks about the 400.1 million that, he was responsible for as state-owned enterprises minister. That whole concept was around these ships that Nicola Willis just went ahead and cancelled by text message without having any alternative in place. And okay, look, Winston's just over 3 months to get his announcement out of the way. Nicola Willis could not deliver something in 12 months. But still, there's more uncertainty there from yesterday's announcement.
The other thing I'd like to comment on, and I don't know, maybe this makes ferries woke, but one of the things that I quite liked about IREX was the hybrid propulsion, the plan that they could add more batteries later on, that sort of thing. I assume that there has been no mention of that, no mention of any sort of considerations for future propulsion methods and that sort of thing.
I haven't heard that. All we heard yesterday was it's going to be 200 metres. It's going to have X amount of distance for vehicles. It's going to be able to shunt 40 wagons, on and off. That's it. I mean, there are no other specs. There's no design work that we can see. There's no suggestion of any integration of innovative thinking or technology or anything around, use of environmentally friendly aspects in its design or execution. So again, no ferries, no costs, no contract.
So obviously the idea of Winston Peters being involved in the first one, that's from a story from RNZ that you're involved with. Speaking to Morning Report yourself, placed the blame on Peters. It was Winston Peters who was involved in negotiating in the first place the original ferry sizes. So that certainly must be something that's been difficult and I guess a bitter and hard pill that the new Minister of Rail will have to swallow. Peters called that, quote, a bare-faced lie. That's the first time anyone ever said that, he told Morning Report, which doesn't speak to it being accurate or not, just because it hasn't been said before. In May of 2020, I ordered 2 ferries at 410 million to go in the mix in terms of what we were ordering. When I came back into Parliament, it was heading towards 80% being on infrastructure, 20% being on these massive ferries, and we were never going to be able to pay for it. That's the truth. But there's the other thing, right? I sometimes can step back and look at issues like, what are they trying to say? Let's say he's completely accurate and it was 80% on infrastructure and 20% on boats. If that's what's needed, then why is that a bad thing? Like, why are we going, we're not going to do this now because there's 80% on infrastructure and only 20% on boats. But if that's what's needed, if my secondhand car is costing me 10 grand, but it's going to cost me 40 grand to build the garage to put it in, then that's just what it is. It doesn't mean that that's wrong. He seems to be saying that spending more on infrastructure than the ferries is wrong. Whereas I don't see why that would be wrong. It just could just be what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they go hand in hand. I mean, you can't have the infrastructure and no ferries, and you can't have no ferries, or no infrastructure in the ferries. I mean, they go hand in hand, and it is seen as a package. I'm so pleased that you use the analogy of a second-hand car, because what we've got, well, Nicola Willis wanted a Corolla. What Winston Peters is now calling his solution is a Porsche.
Yeah.
I heard him say it's a Porsche. So on the one hand, he's saying we don't want Taj Mahal, we don't want Sydney Opera House, but I'm going to deliver a Porsche. Well, we're still waiting, and it's nearly 5 years out before we'll see whatever form it actually takes hit the Cook Strait.
So no Ferrari, we don't need that, but a Porsche is okay. It's nonsense. I mean, we've been saying since day one, Tangi, that we'll end up getting a second-hand Corolla, and Chewie's corrected us of recent times saying, okay, so we're going to at least get a new Corolla, but we'll end up paying what the cost of the Ferrari would have been. So we're paying for what we could have bought a Ferrari for the same money, a Ferrari as acknowledged by Nicola Willis, for now what we're going to get for our brand new Corolla. And that seems like a silly financial decision to me.
It certainly is. And, again, we don't know what the final cost will be. But this is the reason why they're holding those cards close to their chest, is because, one, they don't know themselves. But they also know that actually when you hit the button at the end of this whole process and, see what the end sum is or the total, it will be significant. But then, of course, they'll probably look to say, well, the 300 million for the cancellation clause, we're not taking that into consideration, the cost, because that's actually not for the new ferries. That's to deal with the old project.
Yeah.
Look, it's going to be rather unfortunate.
If we were to place a wee wager here, Tangi, what would the odds be on the end price for this government, including break fees, including sunken costs for the last lot? What would the odds be for it being at least as much as what IREX would have cost, if not more? Do I get good odds on that, or is that do you think that's quite a long stretch?
Well, I'm also the racing spokesperson, so odds is something that falls into my my portfolio. But I think if they are upfront in actually identifying what the true costs are, and not kind of siphoning off them, hiding them in different places all over the place, I think the odds would be in your favour to suggest that actually it would cost more than what IREX was.
And we knew that on day one. And the thing that makes it mostly concerning for me is that a couple of idiots at the bottom of the South Island with no experience in governing or, infrastructure or anything could look at this and go, you guys are fucked. Like, as soon as they make the decision, go, you guys are fucked. And this is going to come back to haunt you. And like, if we can see it, us no name nothings, why the hell couldn't they have seen it? Or are they just so bloody minded that Labor bad that was actually the decision making no matter what?
Nicola Willis was trigger happy in cancelling the deal straight away, and then I think soon after that she realizes that actually, this is not a good move. And so they've taken so much time to try and get their act together. And meanwhile, costs continue. Now, earlier I talked about the cancellation. Yeah, okay, the old ferries of 551 million have been cancelled, but that process around what that's going to cost is still ongoing. I mean, we're beyond a year, 15 months or thereabouts past that decision being taken, and there are still people either in a room or online meeting, whatever they're doing, trying to figure out what's a fair price, for South Korea to basically mitigate the actions of the New Zealand government.
And look, the reality is, and I think we would all agree with this, if they save $500 million and it's now 2.5 instead of 3, but we have a product that's half as good, then that's a terrible business decision. I emphasize the word business because we kept getting told about the party of business. I'm not saying that's accurate, but we kept getting told about the party of business. If they come at 100 million under what the estimates were, and we've got something that's half as good, if they're out by 10, if they save 10%, but we've got a new Corolla instead of a new Ferrari, those are terrible business decisions. And I just don't, I mean, like, how much would they have to save? And if we were all being honest, would it have to be $1 billion? Would they have to save $1 billion for this to be worthwhile, getting sort of a new Japanese car rather than a new European car? Would it have to be $1 billion? What would it be before we kind of go, oh yeah, that's a pretty fair trade-off? What do you think?
I think that'd be a little bit more than $1 billion. But the other thing, of course, is that, under IREX, under our plan, those ferries would be here next year.
Yeah.
The new ferries would be sailing the Cook Strait next year. So it's not just about, we might be able to cut a deal that's 100, 200 million cheaper. We are talking about an extra 3 and then some years before the new ferries, the smaller ferries arrive. And in the interim, the existing fleet, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, what we have to do, what you guys have to do in Labour is, after the new ferries would have been here, every breakdown, every time money has to be sunk into keeping, that's all part of the cost, because that cost wouldn't have been there if the new ferries were here. So hopefully, and I'm sure you guys are, but you guys are onto it. Every time a ship goes out and we lose productivity, we have a bill to repair it, that should all be added on to the cost, because if they hadn't have cancelled those ferries, that cost wouldn't be there. That's fair, don't you think, Chewie?
Yeah, absolutely. This needs to be the albatross that's round their neck for the next year, taking them right into the election with, this from the get-go has been terrible planning, terrible decision-making, terrible recovery, and we still don't have anything in the water yet. I think they're even like, oh, it could be Korea or it could be Finland. We just don't know. It's just a disaster. There's no other way that they can spin this.
Hey, Tangi, is there anything you want to leave us with around the ferries? Because that's the main reason we've got you here. Anything to leave the whānau on?
Oh, look, I think, the sad reality is that we just continue to wait. And what will happen is, in a matter of months, there'll be a whole pile of pageantry probably around how there's going to be some more information coming out. It'll be another announcement. We're just going to keep on waiting. This is just what this government does. I mean, they actually don't announce policy. They just create a whole pile of fanfare, whether it's ferries, whether it's about supermarket competition, whole range of other stuff where they just announce an announcement. And what we need is the Cook Strait, as you guys have said for ages, is a resilient connection between the North and South Island. The longer that we wait, the more uncertainty that sort of creeps into that. Kiwis deserve better. It's just not good enough.
Yeah. Hey, Tangi, thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate having you on.
Oh, good. Always good to come on, lads.
Tangi told me, Chewie, before he came on, they have to wait for the bell to ring before he's allowed to go home. It's kind of like school. So he's basically sitting there. We've got Tangi out of class at the moment, and he's going to now go back into class and wait for the bell to ring. And then, is your mum picking you up, or do you walk home? How's it work?
I'd catch a bus, but
okay.
Public transport's not something that this government are into. So given it's the 1st of April, so no, I might get the YY Express going and go for a little stroll.
There you go. Hey, Tangi, thanks for joining us tonight, mate. All the best.
Okay, cheers, mate.
Spokesperson for Transport from Labour, Tangi Utikere. I was thinking as well. I mean, I know this is ridiculous, but thinking about, there's a multiverse program going on right now, and in the multiverse somewhere, Nicola Wiss comes out and goes, "April Fools, we never cancelled the ferries. They're really out the back. We're going to have them next year. We got you.
That would be hilarious."
That's in the multiverse.
My God, can you imagine how much crow we would have to eat?
Yeah.
Oh, lucky that's not going to happen though.
We're not lucky. I mean, if we end up doing Waitangi next year, like we said, we could have possibly been on the new ferries start of next year if we're going to drive. It could have been the case. Chewie, your hoodie makes me feel happy and sad. From Baba. There you go.
True that. I get that feels.
Vanda says late fee, but you should be. It's okay because John's a fan of the show, so he might be watching. Mr. Too Good might be out there, so hopefully that'll make people feel happy if John's out there, he can say g'day to us in the thing. There you go, John. Got the she hads on. I felt like you just took a breath in, like you were going to say something. Was it a she had remembrance breath in?
I just like to breathe from time to time.
Crazy. You're not a breather. I'm a sentient being, and no one will tell me that my lungs are not related to my, Peter Symes says, have contracts been signed, or is this just specs? Yeah, that's the point.
Commercially sensitive. Don't ask me questions. I am Winston Peters. Look, I'm going to make a really painful analogy. My brain's going to leave halfway through, and I'm not going to be able to finish it. I'm also going to make comments like I just want someone in the press gallery to snap. Just a mental break while they're interviewing Winston when he says something like, oh, well, we're not going to have a Taj Mahal in Picton or a Sydney Opera House in Wellington, and just have someone just put their career on the line and go, what the fuck are you talking about, old man? Yeah. What are you going on about?
Especially if he has called it a Porsche. I mean, I accept that. I haven't seen it, but because if you have a Porsche, if you have a flash car, you have a really secure flash garage to keep it safe in. So you might actually have a Taj Mahal. So once again, as the analogy kind of falls over.
I just want someone to go, we don't want a Ferrari. A Ferrari to cross the Cook Strait and carry freight and passengers is a very silly thing. Also don't want a Corolla for the same reasons. That's a car, Nicola, not a boat. And look, here we are, the second minister that's in charge of the shit show, and he's still using the car analogy. Do you know what we want, Winston? We just want reliable infrastructure. And it doesn't matter if it costs money, because we're taxpayers and we deserve to have more than just the bare fucking minimum. It's okay to have something that is good, that is designed for our area, that is designed for the growth that we expect out of this country. All of that is fine. It's the penny pinching and the subtle reminder that we're just New Zealanders in our little ridiculous country. We don't deserve nice things. Everything must be threadbare. Everything must be held together with fucking gaffer tape and dreams, because nobody wants to pay for anything.
Yeah. And remember, the cheapest time to build was yesterday. How many yesterdays have we had for these guys to allow prices of building, of materials have to go up, 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 up? Because the cheapest time to build was yesterday. Those IREX ferries were a freaking good price. They were a really good price for what they
everybody in the industry said that and has said that from the get-go. And everything about, like, this is why I got so angry at the press always calling it like some fucking mega ferry. No, it's just a well-designed piece of infrastructure. They listened to everybody and they got a great deal across the line, and that, for some reason, enraged Nicola Willis.
Good time to remind you all that we've got Nikki Noboat's t-shirts and hoodies for sale right now. bhnshop.nz. I'm a bit jealous actually, because I've got a black hoodie. I like the black hoodie, but I think I'm down for some of the colors. I mean, I think I'm down for a blue one.
The blue.
We need to get a few more patrons before I can buy a blue one, though. That's how that has to work.
We also need, I think, a second design. Something about Winston and his ghost ships.
Don't need your fucking ghost ships. The other one that I think it just screams with the orange is the right color for the fufu. I mean, I like the gray; it's kind of cool. In fact, I was watching. You watch 1000? I'm sure you watch 1000. I saw your wife watch 1000.
Oh yeah.
He's doing a thing at the moment with he just did a video there where he's just using orange colors only. And you see orange next to gray, and it goes really well. So this is really good, but there's just something about that orange on orange, which is spectacular. bhnshop.nz. There you go. There we go. It's all there. Look at it. It's all there. All right. I should stop being a capitalist and start reading some text that people have paid us to read. Sorry. It's kind of irony there as I said it. Arvid says, just wanting to ask Pat and Chewie in regards to New Zealand people going to Australia, Europe, and Asia for better jobs and salaries. Can anything be done to stop it? Well, we could pay them better. Like I can still remember it was a breakfast show. I don't know whether it was breakfast or AM show, where the Prime Minister, who was then the leader of the opposition, was talking about nurses going to Australia. And he sat there saying all the terrible things about the Labor government, all the terrible things. And he got asked, Luxon, I'm going to say 20 times, 3 times, about would he therefore match their wages and pay them more to keep them? And he just wouldn't answer it. I'm sorry to be a simpleton, but that's the answer. Nelson Hospital, who's struggling to get doctors there. I use this example a lot when I'm talking about things, right? If you paid doctors $1 million, every doctor would be applying to go there. If you paid them $1, no one would. Now work out where that gap crosses over to you getting enough people to want to go there to have a full roster of doctors. And you're not paying them enough, and that's why they're not going.
Yeah. Like I don't even think it would be a case of necessarily matching what Australia is offering. Because remember, when all of these negotiations and people weigh out their lives and that, it's pay and conditions.
Yeah.
And New Zealand should be a nice place to live, and being close to your friends and family should be a contributing factor. There's lots of things that can be done. Like we know what needs to be done. It's just that these guys don't want to turn around to their mates and their donors and the people that they have swanky dinners with. They don't want to turn around and go, hey, you need to pay for some nurses. You need to pay for the place that they work. We need to make sure that we have a pipeline of enough nurses coming through, enough teachers, enough police. The police have to want to do their job. All of these things. And we know that costs money. And our current government will always go, well, you can't pull money out of nowhere. And it's like, you did that on day one. Where did the money go, Pat? Where did the money go? Landlords. We prioritised landlords over nurses, police, infrastructure, hospitals, schools, children, and defeating poverty. All of those things less important than a small select group of New Zealanders with a property portfolio.
Yeah.
We're saying that since day one. We keep repeating it. We're still right.
Okay, Arvid says, in honour of winning, it's called the SS Botussi. Kiwi Bird says, are the new ferries going to be powered by steam or hot air?
No,
maybe they're
Shane Jones, he'll be shoveling coal into the engines himself.
Peter says, Bussy McBusface in there as well. I guess it'd be Bussy, wouldn't it? Bussy McBusface. Wussy Peters, Wussy. So McBussy Peters. Ghost ship staff are courtesy of John Key's Ghost Jobs that still roam the country filling data when needed. And finally, for now, Daniel says, not finally, there's one more actually. Winston's Shell game, set the delivery date after your own death date. Oof. Here's one as well. This actually was the first chat in today, but I left it now because it's a new topic, which I think we will do tomorrow. Who's excited for Trump's tariff day tomorrow? It's so bizarre what's happening in America at the moment. Nobody knows. And Trump's like...
You're fake news. Listen, you're fake news. You're fake news.
Trump's like, it's going to be a beautiful day. It's going to be the Liberation Day, when what he's doing is actively making life more expensive for every single American. That's the liberation. I guess that's the liberation that money can bring you. If you're wealthy, I don't know, maybe something about you now can drive more of your own product into your own country and it brings you more money. I'm not sure. And it's the second, isn't it? So the second here will be tomorrow, which is Wednesday. Yeah, which actually means Thursday, which actually means Chewie. Maybe you and Emily can chase it up. But it's just bizarre that Trump's going like, I'm not going to tell how many countries. You'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to tell. It's just weird. It's just fucking weird.
I mean, it's put the shits up the stock market.
Yeah.
And look, I don't know, put my wee conspiracy cap on at the moment. Trump surrounded himself with a lot of very wealthy people.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know who's fine if the stock market crashes for a little bit? Wealthy people, because they can scoop up shares when they're cheap. If they're that insulated from it,
yeah,
maybe
they can also bet against it. You can place wages that bet against the economy. That's how a lot of people got really, really wealthy during the crash in 2008. I can't remember what it's called, but you can place bets against it. And I guess thankfully he's been asked, is anyone betting on the failure, anyone in the government or associated with the government, and he's like, and they're like, nope. So
It's going to be
shorting.
great for the oligarch.
Yep. Thank you, team.
Class.
We always love this. All these people. It's called shorting. Yeah. So the people shorting the stock market. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be great for the oligarch class, and it's going to be shit for the worker. And he won't give a shit about it. Like, there are an enormous amount of people over there that voted for Trump that maybe aren't as inducted into the MAGA cult as the rest of them, that are just sort of going, hey, I don't think he's going to make things bad for me.
Well, I saw something online today with Jordan Peterson, of all people, going, I don't know about this Trump thing. And he was, he'd sound like, hey, Jordan Peterson here. Yay. And I saw a thing come across I have a really weird algorithm because I listen to and watch everything. I hate watch things, so you guys don't have to. And I had a look, and it's like, Jordan Peterson's not happy because of what he's talking about with Canada and stuff. It's like, well, mate,
so,
if you,
so what you're saying
you
there
own
is
it.
that there's
You
a
own
silver
it.
lining. There's a silver lining. Jordan Peterson is not happy. It makes me a little bit happy.
Yeah. All right. Hey, listen,
I'm okay with it.
let's have a look at this. This is a strange one. And Chewie, I think this is right up your street. So let's have a look at that. Willie Apiata has handed over his Victoria Cross over an entitlements issue. So this is an image, if you're watching us, if you listen to the audio podcast, it's an image of, is it Chris Pink? It is Chris Pink, I was just thinking. I know one of his family members. I always get it confused. Chris Pink and Willie Apiata and another member of the military. He's the RSA Padre, saying a prayer together as Willie Apiata hands back his Victoria Cross. Minister for Veterans Affairs Chris Pink left the Whakatane Returned Service Association on Friday with a precious taonga burning a hole in his pocket. New Zealand's most decorated war hero, Willie Apiata, had just gifted him his New Zealand Victoria Cross medal to carry to Parliament in hope of having the definition of a veteran changed in legislation. Apiata received the medal for carrying a wounded fellow soldier to safety under heavy fire in Afghanistan in 2004. That's 21 years ago. It's a long time. He has campaigned for more than 5 years for changes to the Veterans Support Act of 2014. The Act sets out which people who have served in the New Zealand military qualify for entitlements such as pensions and compensation for injuries or illness incurred through service. Currently, the only service people injured while deployed overseas during a war or emergency operation qualify unless they served before ACC was founded in 1974. That means they have to be born in the 1950s. So, there are many versions of the definition of a veteran, Apiata said. The definition that resides within our country at the moment splits us into two peoples when we should be one because we all gave service. That'll do for the article. We get it. So basically he's saying there is a group of people who served their country, who gave a portion of their life to the armed services, who are not considered veterans when it comes to entitlements. And because of that, Willie Apiata has handed back his Victoria Cross, saying, I can't wear this until this issue is sorted out. Now, Chewie, we all know that you are a history buff and you are I'm going to say a fan of war. You know what I mean? You investigate war. You're a student of that world. So I don't have much to add to this because it just seems massive to me. You'll have much more knowledge on me. So the floor is yours, sir.
Well, first of all, if we're talking about Willie Apiata, we need to start it with this picture.
That is a dope picture. He looks hard.
Yeah. That is, I believe, taken just after one of his combat actions in Afghanistan. It might even be the one that he won the Victoria Cross.
And there was a whole bunch of stuff. There was a whole bunch of stuff about this photo because I think the New Zealand media released it, and they shouldn't have because it showed his face. And then the people that they were fighting in Afghanistan knew he was like a particularly high-ranking individual because he was part of the whatever the advanced forces are called or something. I was going to say, I knew he said Secret Service, whatever the beret version of the New Zealand Army is or whatever it was.
Yeah, the SAS. Yes,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
released by the international media, so there
Is that what
was
it was? Yeah.
no chance for anybody to put black bars over his face and that sort of thing. But yes, this image I keep in a folder on my computer called "Images That Go Hard." Yeah, it's a pretty good one. I cannot imagine what it is like to look at that medal that you earned under fire doing something absolutely crazy to save a mate and be awarded just something that is incredibly hard to win. I think most people that get the Victoria Cross die doing it, doing the action that earns it. So to be able to turn around and go, well, no, I'm going to put this on the line again for something that I really, really believe in, for the people that I served with and all of that. I think that's an incredible gesture.
So, as of today, April 1st, 2025, there are 10 living recipients of the Victoria Cross for Australia and New Zealand. 10.
Yeah.
So that's it for now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's out there with the U.S. Congressional Medal of Honor, and it's just. But like, if you look up what people do to be awarded one, it is just an array of people doing insane things, just superhuman things. So yeah, for him to put that on the line and go, hey, look, this needs to be looked at, I hope that sort of rocks people a little bit and go, well, shit, he really means it. And then they look at that photo that I put up and they go, I actually don't want him knocking on my office door asking me why I haven't changed things. So yeah, I mean, I haven't really dug into this story. Am I right in thinking that he's looking to remove the distinction from a veteran has to serve in combat operations?
He just wants, I guess he's looking for equality. It's kind of a theme he's wanting people to be treated the same.
If you are active duty and you serve in the military and you finish, then you are a veteran.
Yeah, like I have a mate who spent 20, 25, 30 years in the Navy. He got right up to commander of a ship and that kind of stuff. And I know some young people in the Navy right now, and I kind of go, oh, you should, because there's like levels that you stay at. And if you go out after 10 years, you get these entitlements afterwards. And if you go out 20, and there's these entitlements that come with it. That's the Navy, though. It sounds like what they're saying is, unless you've fought or been deployed overseas during wartime or emergencies, you're not accessible to those benefits. That's what I read in there. I'll read you one other, but let me just read you one other bit just to make sure we're all clear what he's actually saying. So he says, oh gosh, you've stolen my screen. There we go. Whether we go abroad or whether we stay at home, we swear allegiances to our people that are here within Aotearoa and other shores, and to serve under our king or queen. Now, this is also fair to put out there. It's not about national, yeah? He said he had spoken to previous ministers for veteran affairs, Penny Henare, Mika Whaitiri, and Ron Mark about the issue. As I said 5 years ago, I cannot carry this until we are all under the same umbrella, he said of the
Okay. So that is I have understood that correctly then, because this has traditionally been a real point of contention for people that have served, and even to the point of serving overseas. So one of the things two of the things that spring to mind, the Malayan emergency. That's when the Commonwealth and British, Australian, New Zealand forces fought communist rebels in Malaysia. Because it wasn't a war, the people that went and did combat operations and walked through the jungles and all of that sort of stuff under fire, they weren't classed as veterans when they came back, because they didn't get medals or anything like that, because it was an emergency, not a war. Active duty sailors that saw the French atomic testing and got sick because of that. They were deployed in a dangerous situation in active duty, not classed as veterans. There is just even serving in peacetime. Being in the military is a dangerous job. You're working in extreme conditions, you're working with dangerous machinery, you're dealing with weapons and things that go bang, and stuff that is basically designed to unalive as many people as possible. It's dangerous. You get hurt, you lose your hearing, all of these sort of things. But he's right, it did create this distinction between, well, yeah, you served, but did you serve as much as I did?
Did you really serve?
Yeah.
Mm.
So, I mean, I think if this is a feeling amongst servicemen and women, then I think it's a valid one. And I think if Willie Apiata is again doing this enormous gesture, that I hope the weight of that medal sitting in Chris Pink's pocket really does weigh on him.
Well, let me give you that, because I was going to say, you know, we always try and be fair here, even if we do have our own political biases, but the words that Chris Pink have said are really good. Now, what we want to see is the action that follows those words. But he says this of the receiving the Victoria Cross. He says, "I don't wish to retain that taonga long. It weighs very heavily on me. I will return it to you. I undertake to do that as soon as possible on the basis you have set out." I mean, that's a good response. That's a really good response. We just hope that then follows up into good actions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's an interesting story, and I mean, we don't think about our veterans enough. I think, you know, because ultimately war is bad, but people put their lives into service and that sort of thing, and it is important. So I think, to carry this story at the start of April is Willie knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And look, there's some people on the chat giving Chris Pink a bit of grief. Like, I mean, I guess we just call balls and strikes, and all we're saying is those are good words. Now let's see.
Good words. He has to follow them. Words have to mean something.
Yep.
And this will be something like, you can go out there and say whatever you like, but if you don't follow it through, I know I'm a good worder. I do words at a high level. Okay. Yeah, this is Chris Pink's opportunity to not be seen as a damp squib. Like, actually do something. And I will tip my hat to you if you do.
All right. Do you know what I needed then? I needed a time check. Like, I haven't worked in radio for 14 years. And I only looked I was looking for the clock, because you normally do a time check at the end of your thing and then move on.
Got to remind people what they're listening to.
Weird.
You're listening to BHN with Pat and Chewie. It's coming up 3 minutes to 10.
Oh, news at the top of the hour. News at the top of the hour.
Will I do the tones? Beep, beep.
Only on ZB. You know, you only had to play those on ones that went live. Like, I thought about playing those when I was working at More FM, and the boss went, "You can't play them." I'm like, "What do you mean you can't play them? It has to be, there's a because it is like GMC or Greenwich Mean Time, GMT. You got there's some rules around that, which I don't know about. Peter says Luxon doesn't have the balls to retaliate to Trump. Yeah. And Rajan says, y'all hear the select committees for the treaty principles bill won't have enough time to read all the submissions. I sent an angry email to James Meager. I haven't seen much of that at all. You'll appreciate we have a limited number of time each night. So maybe, Chewie, you can remind me.
I can speed run this.
Well, why don't we just do it properly tomorrow? Why don't we get someone and do it properly? And
let's get James Meager in, the Minister for the South Island. Has he spoken to us yet?
Is that, are we in the South Island? Is that us?
It's James Meager in the South Island. Can we point to it on a map? Yeah, I like we've banged that gong about the treaty submissions and all of that sort of stuff. To hear that thousands of handwritten submissions will not be entered into the record because we're running out of time is insane.
There is some shit going on at the moment in Parliament. So here's a little bit of, I already had the background to this, but Deb said it tonight on the news, so it's cool for, I think, us to talk about it. The time thing. So at the moment, members of Te Pāti Māori are supposed to be for like they're supposed to be on the naughty step and going to a committee to face the charges of like being too Māori in public or something like that. And their lawyer is Chris Finlayson. Chris Finlayson is tied up with something else at the moment. So Te Pāti Māori have asked for a stay, which is completely appropriate and done all over the place. You got to give accused, heavy word, I know, the chance to respond how they can in their best way. And Judith Connors has gone, no, we're moving forward. So guess what Te Pāti Māori didn't do today? They didn't turn up. They didn't turn up. And there's more to come in this story that I can't tell you about publicly, but I'll tell you about it afterwards, Chewie. There is more to come of this. They're not just going to not turn up. There's other things afoot as well with that. But like any court in the world, I know this isn't like a jury court. If your lawyer can't be present, you can get a stay. It's completely reasonable. And they just went, nah, do it today. So Department went, nah, not doing it. And as I said, watch the space. There's more to come.
Cool.
Right. Don't you like being all sneaky like that with information?
We know stuff and we're not telling it to you.
Chewie doesn't know it
and
yet.
Find out what I have no idea, which is my usual state of being. So that's
sometimes when we tell Chewie stuff, he still has no idea. Just goes like that, doesn't it, Chewie?
I just like being included.
I love this name, and I'm going to say it in a certain way, and there's no disrespect, but it's a child, evokes a childhood memory of Rupert. Yeah, you did too. So Rupert, sorry, Rupert. A quick look at the WINS site shows that veterans must not only serve, but must meet requirements to get the veterans pension, and it's income tested. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Whānau, last story of the night. I don't know if we're going to cover this off tonight, but there's been, as I said, you guys know my hate watching, that I look at everything. I've seen some stuff on YouTube today. I have YouTube going most of the day. I'm listening or watching to news most of the day through YouTube. And there was a lot of New Zealand feeds come up today. A lot of some of the most awful people in New Zealand coming through in my feed, including people who are commentators now who once stabbed their stepmother. It just goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things going on at the moment. People saying, well, has there even been any charges? Has anyone made any complaints to the police? And I don't know what's happening in the Greens offices, but I suspect this takes time. There's a process to follow through. So we find out today that the Greens, parliamentary services, I think technically, have gone to the police and laid at least one complaint about what's going on. But let's get sort of day two of this nightmare of a story that is continuing. Now, I want to say something else as well. I'll say it towards the end. It's really interesting, and I will do this always. When accusations have been made of someone or something, I don't sit on the fence, but for all you right-wingers out there, I do a bit of a Ronald Reagan. I test and verify. At the moment, I think we've been saying this is what's been said. That's all we've said so far. And that's not said in any way to confirm one side and defend their side or to anything. It's like we're now saying we don't see, as we talked about very, very clearly last night, any evidence. I said to people on Twitter today, what evidence would be shown in court? And they were like, blue swirls. Okay, so that's a conviction, isn't it?
Oh, the amount of people that are now just experts in LGBTQ code is phenomenal. They've cracked it. They've worked out what the emojis mean. It's and when eggplant and a sploosh.
When one particular melting pile of pancake batter cites Chantel Baker as one of his original sources, the woman who thought there was literal wards in hospitals that only Māori were allowed to go to, and look, okay, forget that. Look, I'll even take it down so you can forget the story, because that's what we like. We're like dogs. You take it away, we're not talking about it anymore. Any accusations made towards any human being, let alone any MP, if there is validity to them and veracity to them, investigate them and sort it out. Like investigate them and sort it out. I would never say that person X has never done Y, unless I'm talking about myself. Person Y has done X. I would also never say they haven't done it, because you test and you verify. Now, the question is right now, like, what is even the evidence to put this in front of I'll tell you the funniest thing I heard. This will show you my hate watching. I heard fucking Bob McCoskrie being introduced today, being like, he's laid a complaint with the police. And then Bob McCoskrie came on the show and he said, I tagged the police in an X thing.
Oh, what a goober.
And Mark Mitchell, I tagged them in X. So I got introduced as laying a police complaint, and that was the reality of it. So
what an absolute twat.
So and look, I'm fair. That I've said before of right-wingers, to be called racist because you're holding an American flag is not a metric to decide if someone is or isn't racist. That couple who are holding the American flag up, they might be racist, but holding the American flag is not the metric to say whether they are or aren't. At the moment, there's no metric to say guilt. So we presume innocence. And the conviction in the court of public opinion is the thing that's disgusting.
Oh,
absolutely.
There's so many comments out there from people that go, "Oh, I saw the post. I saw the post. Oh, okay. You saw it before it was taken down, did you? Did you? Oh, I've seen screenshots." Bob laying a complaint with libs of TikTok. Yeah, like people have seen the screenshots and they know the codes and they know what it means and all of this sort of stuff, and they're lacking all of the context. And I keep coming back to the fact, like, there are people out there that think that the only picture that this bussy thing was on was a picture including the child, and it's not. It was in a collection of 10 photos. Because that's how you post on Instagram. You can put up to 10 photos and it's in the one post. And then you put the one caption that goes on all of those 10 photos. Winston doesn't know that. He doesn't know what an Instagram is. But Chantal Baker does.
Can I say something really obvious?
Like, Winston Peters is old and bitter.
These people, when he breathes, dust comes out. These people who think that they can go and catch every person around the world now because we all know what the blue squiggle means. Do you really think if the whole world, the FBI, knew what this blue squiggle was, the people who are in that world wanting to stay in the darkest, most revolting parts of the internet would put a fucking blue squiggle on their on their profile?
Oh yeah. No,
just think logically. Just think logically.
Just tangent time.
If you wanted to, if you knew, I mean, I meant to show you this. If you, like, most people kind of know that a swastika is a connection to Nazism. If you wanted to stay out of the, do you think in Germany where that symbol is illegal, right? So that means people in a like police area will be looking for it. So do you think people in Germany, to tell other people, I'm a Nazi, are putting a swastika in their profile when they also know that the police force would be looking for that and action it? Like, just think logically.
Because it's bullshit. It's dirty politics bullshit from fucking Chantal Baker and Cameron Slater. Come on.
Cameron Slater made a comment on my Twitter feed. And I challenged him to say it again because it could have been taken as very defamatory against me. I mean, he didn't say anything again, funnily enough. Yeah. That was just before I got Gilda Kirkpatrick to block me because she got all upset. You would have been proud of me last night, Chewie. I was very late editing because Gilda Kirkpatrick, who is a horrible, horrible woman, Beverly, like the housewives of whatever, I said to her, I challenged her on 2 points. And I said, if you can't answer these 2 points, you should withdraw, and then in brackets, like your father should have, and retract. And she went mental and blocked me. And it's like, if you want to see the alt-right and how much of a snowflake they are, go to my Blue Sky, go to my Twitter, have a look at that conversation. It's hilarious.
Look, I'm just going to say that Winston Peters eats mummies, like Egyptian mummies, to feel young again. It's the man is dusty, outdated, offensive, cringe. He's all of these things. Like, if he wants us to believe that he is just concerned that maybe a child is in danger, why doesn't he turn to his associate deputy prime minister and go, hey man, you know about sheltering pedophiles? Maybe you can clue me in what bussy means. You know, it's just so two-faced. All of this is two-faced. The story should not be about this guy and his fucking Instagram. It should be what a devious piece of shit Winston Peters is.
And on that note, let's get the update from the story today. I feel like we've maybe almost done it, but let's have a look.
Death threats aimed at a Green Party MP have escalated as scrutiny intensifies over their sexually suggestive social media posts. The party's response to the accusations against Benjamin Doyle is also being questioned, with members of the gay community telling One News they are outraged at one of the co-leaders' statements. Political editor Mikey Sherman reports.
For the second week running, the Green Party is under pressure. Its MP, Benjamin Doyle, on personal leave.
Have you been made aware of any other concerns raised in regards to Benjamin Doyle since yesterday?
No, but what we do know is that since yesterday, the threats have ramped up even more so.
Violence and death threats against the MP.
Do you take any responsibility for adding to that?
It was happening days beforehand. They told us themselves. The Green told us that, frankly, and now they're in excuse mode and trying to blame everybody else.
Benjamin Doyle's private Instagram account, Bible Belt Bussy, used sexual slang, including alongside a photograph of their child. The latest highlighted post, swipe left to see an eggplant.
There are uses of language and content that will be unfamiliar to a lot of people right now.
For those unfamiliar with the eggplant emoji, it refers to a penis.
For Mikey to have to explain that, like you've been saying, Winston Peters, it's like the word woke. What does that mean, Winston? Well, you know what it means. I'm not going to have to explain it to you. Look it up, because he doesn't know. There is not anything as well, but it's the same vibe.
I am going to send this story to my American friends that are watching their country crumble, that are watching Trump just fucking spin a wheel of chaos. They might potentially be invading Iceland or Mexico or Canada. Who knows?
Panama.
I'm going to send this to them and go, yeah, man, politics is crazy. This is what my country's dealing with at the moment.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going.
They've roped in the rainbow community, and I'm telling you, 9 to 1, the rainbow community is as mad about this as we are.
There's something about to happen here on One News, which I'll show you. One News got a single email from someone claiming to be part of the rainbow community, and they're about to use it in their news story. Now, again, coming back to what we said at the start, I don't see evidence for conviction here. Now, that's a statement which means there is no evidence being presented for conviction. That's not a statement whether, yes, it happened, no, it didn't happen, yes, he's good, no, he's nothing, right? But One News are about to show us an email that came into them from someone in the LGBT community, I think from memory it is Ben, we'll find out, saying this doesn't represent me. And they're using it in a news story to go, Chloe doesn't represent the queer community. And you hear Chloe very clearly say, some in the queer community. And then TVNZ's about to say, well, she doesn't speak for all of the community, where she literally says some. Have a listen.
News was CC'd into an email sent to Chloe Swarbrick from a gay woman in her 50s in a civil union who watched this exchange on last night's news.
Yeah, but the context is that members of the rainbow community oftentimes use terminology which could be considered
members of, not all.
The entirety. Everyone gets issued a dictionary that they must learn. They must all use the same slang.
Members of.
Oftentimes use terminology which could be considered to be outrageous.
The woman who One News spoke with today wrote that she resents Chloe Swarbrick's statement.
This is in One News. This is one step away from using someone's tweet as a source.
This is so shithouse from the media that they are falling for this.
Yeah.
There are hard questions that they could answer about how this came about. Why are we getting this level of outrage when Tim Jago has fallen off the news cycle completely, and nobody questioned David Seymour about how much he was sheltering a pedophile, how much he knew about the court case beforehand.
So
that's the story about someone actually being convicted of being a predatory pedophile.
And this is one of these classic things. What people do, right? Now this happens a lot in debate, and it shouldn't happen. Like if it is 99 scientists believe, let's say, man-made climate change, and one doesn't, right? Let's say that's the number. It's going to be 90 plus something, and then versus single digits. Then you have one of each on a show. It looks like it's 50-50. What they're doing now is they're making this look like this random emailer is the majority position. One email. Well, let's hear it, eh?
Swarbrick's statement saying being gay is not an excuse to behave inappropriately or make inappropriate comments, adding, be consistent, Chloe, and how dare you tar all gay people and by connection their children and their families with an outrageous brush.
I just think from One News, what they've basically put this email up now as, so this is now seen and received by the public as an expert, right? It's received as a valid and an expert opinion. How dare you tar all gay people didn't, and by connection their children didn't, and their families didn't, with an outrageous brush. Didn't do that. One News have decided to share an email from one person claiming falsities, and One News is sharing it like it's gospel. It's pretty gross, actually.
I would think even, like, I mean, we can debate the merits of having both sides of an argument whether both sides aren't equal, but at no point has One News tried to get a contrary point of view. They haven't spoken to anybody else about it. They haven't spoken to any organisations from the queer community about it. Maybe they tried. Maybe nobody wants to talk to them, and all they've got is this, apparently the world's most boring lesbian, to write a letter in. This is like, oh, it's no excuse to make appropriate comments because you're gay. Everybody makes inappropriate comments all of the time.
All right, we'll keep going. Here we go.
That Val lettuce language sandwich you gave yesterday was just a disgraceful performance.
Chloe Swarbrick noticeably absent from media despite being at Parliament, leaving Marama Davidson to do the explaining.
There are ways that different members from different communities communicate that will not be familiar to the rest of us.
Winston Peters says it's gaslighting.
All her arguments are a tissue.
I just need to be really clear here.
Steering clear of the issue almost entirely today, National and Labour.
Look, I said everything I want to say about that issue yesterday, and that's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, I'm not going to fan the flames of this. I think there's far too much shouting around this right now.
Refusing to be drawn into this controversy.
And Mikey's with us now. Any update on those death threats, Mikey?
At least one referral has been made to police in terms of those threats. That referral was by Parliamentary Services, who is currently working with the Green Party to deal with the avalanche of abuse that is headed their MP's way. Now, given the severity of the situation, you really do start to question the way that the Green Party has responded, has handled this situation, particularly around the vetting processes. There were plenty of questions in regards to that today, and whether the Green Party leadership provided enough advice to keep their MP safe. Of course, politics is not for the faint-hearted. This is the rough and tumble of the place in which they find themselves working in, and that scrutiny really does elevate to another level once MPs enter Parliament. So whether the Green Party provided the necessary supports there, we saw in my story an inability for the co-leaders to really take any accountability for the situation that their MP has now found themselves in. Of course, this is now a lesson that they are learning the hard way.
Yeah. So look, I mean, I think that I try my best to be consistent at the best of times when warranted. For example, one of the arguments that's been coming out is this all happened before, Benjamin was a MP. I don't think that's an excuse, because so did Sam Uffindale. That was when he was 16, and we went to town on that. I'm not saying that therefore means he's done something wrong. We don't know, but it's not an excuse to say just because you're an MP it doesn't count. So I don't think that's the right line to take. And to be honest with you, if we had a chance to chat with one of the leaders or Ben, the questions that you'd have to ask them are the questions that are getting asked. You would have to ask him, what is the blue cyclone thing mean to you? Because people are saying this. Explain it. Because I actually think that could be a good move for them to get it out there. Because at the moment, what's happening is it's that idea of lies and rumor can go around the world 3 times before truth gets its pants on. And I think having some information out there that addresses some of the lies and or rumors that are going around at the moment would at least therefore be a way to go, well, this is incorrect. This is what's been said.
The real story here for me is how our media is buying into this. How our media is just taking it at face value and at surface level and just not digging into where the real story here is. Why is this circulating? Where did it come from? Does it fucking matter? You know, I love that Winston brought up gaslighting because he was around when you would literally light a gaslight. I like that he criticized Chloe's salad sandwich of a statement yesterday.
That even makes sense.
That man is tripping over his sentences more than anybody and shouldn't be criticizing anybody. He just doesn't understand. He doesn't understand any of this, and I don't understand why he's going to war over it. It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah, but do you really not understand? He's feeding his base.
He is feeding his base. And that's what's making me so fucking angry about this. This has brought out so many ugly, ugly people that are outraged. I'm so scandalized about it. It's so scandalous that in the UK, you can put it on a bus. You see that, Pat? The megabus from the UK. Look at the name of the megabus. It's on the front there. And it's also on the side. My name is Bussy Galore.
I also, do you know what else I saw? And look, to be honest with you, I think I always felt it's a bit weird having an adult kiss their kids on the lips, but some people do it. There was a photo going around today with David Beckham kissing his kid on the lips next to Benjamin Doyle, going, one's famous, you know, like, so it's
I
not.
think it's weird as well, but I don't call the cops. I don't try and wreck someone's career. I think the other thing that's worth discussing here is how the Greens keep on getting lumped with this shit, playing an absolutely transparent, straight back game. You know, they'll investigate this. They'll cooperate with everybody. They're the only ones being fucking honest about anything at the moment, and they just get wrecked for it. And then we end up back in the same thing where we go, politicians, they never tell the truth. They never tell the truth because they get fucking crucified when they do. The Greens more than anybody. They had almost a full sports team of Green MPs talk about the realities of life and get hounded out of that place. Yeah, I'm calling the cops. It's just weird. And just see it for what it is. It is a dog whistle for you can't trust kids with gay people.
Yeah.
100%. That's the battle that's been fought over decades. And it feels like we've just taken a giant fucking step back to the late 80s. Maybe that's where Winston feels comfortable. Maybe that's the 1880s. I don't know. It just, I'm annoyed at this for so many reasons. It's a big king hit directed at the queer community. It's a political beat up by some of the least intelligent, most partisan operators out there. It's Winston Peters stooping as low as he can fucking go. Should win a Limbo Award at this point. And he's loving it. He should be fielding questions more and more about the ferries. But he slammed a dead cat right onto the media's lap at the start of the week. And they're all falling for it.
Yeah. And look, I'll say it again. Forget what we're talking about right now. Any politician, any person, if there is cause for investigation, if there is evidence that, say, crimes have been committed, they should be presented. And as someone said the other day, presenting them on social media, and I think they were talking about Chantal Baker with this, actually goes against everything you're saying about crimes, because what you do is you turn it into a further and a court of public opinion, and then the person can't get a fair trial, and then even if there was something there, they probably wouldn't be able to be charged with anything.
Oh,
so this is just all this is, for want of a better word, this is all just a clout chasing game by some of those people that then has been picked up, and guess what? I heard a certain pile of pancake batter today bragging about the tens of thousands of views his interview with Winston Peters about this has got. Well, of course, red meat to the base, red meat to that base that will connect this thing with my keys are now magnetic, with this thing over here, with I'm not driving, I'm traveling, with this bit over here, and they come to the conclusion and it's gospel. And that's then their evidence. Present it in the court then, fuckers. See how far that goes.
And if it really, and it didn't, so don't entertain this thought for even a nanosecond. If it was really about concern for the children, they've put the picture of that kid out there that is circulating amongst these people that are making their own jaundiced eye view of it. If you're really concerned about their child, you would go straight to the police. You would just go straight. You wouldn't go to the media. You wouldn't circulate it amongst your right-wing friends. You would just go to the cops.
All right. Did you check your email? I told you I'll check your email.
Oh, okay. I'll check my email right now.
Check your email.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That came on my Twitter feed today. We'll talk about that. I don't think we can show that, right? Do you agree we can't show that?
No, we can't.
Yeah, that'll get us booted off YouTube for sure. We'll talk about that in a sec.
Woo!
It's not his first Rodussy, Chewie. So the ballot says, I see a defamation lawsuit coming over the actions and accusations that Benjamin Doyle has experienced along with criminal charges over death threats. I actually absolutely think a defamation case should be had, and they're going to try and hide behind, it's so funny actually, because I interviewed Chantel that 2.5 hour marathon and said to her every time, well, why don't you take them to court? Oh, defamation is so expensive. It's like, well, Benjamin, you might have a chance to go and actually the person who reckons that everyone always defames her, there might be a case there. Winston from Elucid Box, they don't speak for all Māori, also Winston. The rainbow community said they don't like it. Yeah. Arvid says, so are minority groups a monolith or not? Kind of like you think Māori aren't. National Act. New Zealand first. John 00 says, support Bible Belt Bussy. John 00? Oh, that's someone in the chat, is it?
Yeah, John 00. Yeah, he's one of our Crunchy croutons, but he's been missing for a little while, so he's back.
Late fee tonight excuse equals possums. I'm sorry, I said that wrong because I said it like I had a question mark. Possums, but I'm going possums. All right. Peter says still recommending the latest ContraPoints video. Yeah, I haven't had a look at that yet, so I'll think about it. So that thing that you've got in your inbox, which I mean, if you go to my X account, it's there. So X at the moment is such a revolting place that if you report obvious racism or sexism or anti-Semitism and stuff, you sometimes get a response within minutes that it doesn't breach their terms and conditions. That one that I sent you, Chewie, I reported it at 4:56 p.m. and I have yet to have a response about it. We could probably describe what it is to people. I put up a post today that I was talking about this. That's what we're talking about now. And I won't even mention his name, doesn't matter. Someone telling me not to read too much into the symbolism, and they sent me a swastika. But the swastika is not made up of lines. It's made up of the N-word all the way through it. So, I don't know, 50 of them to make the shape of the swastika. I'm not going to show it because it'll probably get us booted off YouTube. And that post I reported, and it still hasn't been adjudicated. And I went to the hardcore, like hate speech, all that kind of stuff as well. So we'll see what happens. But that's what Twitter is at the moment. It's just an absolute cesspit. If we can
I can tell you what X's moderation team is now. It's just you make a complaint, it prints it out at Twitter HQ, and it comes out of the printer, and then it just falls down straight into a shredder, and then they're burned. So yeah, it's not a safe place.
Yeah,
maybe it never was, but it is 10 times, 100 times worse. Like I still have my account there because I don't want Elon to have the satisfaction of auctioning off my handle or something like he might do. And every now and then I just dip my toe in and I was like, oh fuck, that's right, this pool is full of sewage. No thanks.
Yeah, I've actually been having a bit of fun in the last 24 hours responding to people. I normally just use it for clips because, I think I've got about 5,500 followers, so we get good engagement.
Oh, here's the best analogy, Pat. Let's see if you get this reference. X it's a Nazi bar. Have you seen that story?
Don't think so.
It's one of my favorite stories. It's a story about a guy going into a dive bar somewhere in America. He's just having a drink. He describes the bar really well, and just the punk barman that's behind there. This other guy comes in and orders a drink. The barman takes one look at it, tells him to fuck off, get out, never come back again. Odd interaction. But then after he's gone, he turns to the first guy that comes in and goes, you probably didn't see that, but his jacket was covered in Nazi shit. And one of the things you've got to understand about Nazis is if you let one in because he's being reasonable, soon he'll be there with all of his Nazi mates. And then the next thing is you're a Nazi bar and you can never get rid of them. And that's what's happened to Twitter. X.
Yeah. Yeah. I would happily move to Blue Sky. I just need them to up their game when it comes to video and stuff, because we use it. So anyway, danger of mouse puts us in our place. Never done Twitter, always was a cesspit. Fair enough. All right. Is there anything else from you tonight, Chewie? Because I'm pretty much done. Here tomorrow night.
I'm going to be here tomorrow night as well, which is good. Yeah, that's good. That's two of us.
Yeah,
that is. And then all we need for the show to work is everybody else.
Yeah,
everybody else has to be there as well. You're here. It's now a verbal contract.
And then I'm away Thursday night. Emily will be here though with Chewie, and I'll be back on Monday. So
you know what happens when Daddy Pat's not here? All of those things where he has to dive across the keyboard and go allegedly. When I say something,
when you say that, what I hear is best of on Thursday night. Is that what we're saying? Is it? All right, team. Thank you for joining us tonight. I always struggle to say it's been a good one because sometimes some of these things we're talking about we shouldn't use the word good about them for some reason,
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand.
I would, Justin. I would put us on Rumble. I've looked at that a couple of times because it's like if we can get on their platform with this content, why wouldn't we? Yes, I would, but I haven't quite figured it out. And this platform that we use, StreamYard, it doesn't have an easy plugin for Rumble. I think because the owners of StreamYard are decent people. But yes, I would.
Picking and choosing a warpath to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All have a lean either this way or that, and will be analyzed by both Chewie and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed.
All right, team. That's us for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. for another edition of Big Hairy News. That's it for me, Chewie.
And that's it from me. See you tomorrow.
All right. See you tomorrow. Hooroo.
Cheers, fam.
Big Hairy News.